Hey guys, welcome to Hurting Little Cows to the Glory of God.
She's her, I'm me.
This is a different homeschool video. We're doing a couple today, so we do change clothing. Anyway, the reason I was...
At least once a month, whether needed or not.
So the reason I'm doing these videos is because there's lots of different aspects to think about and to touch on when you're talking about homeschooling. And so I'm trying to just introduce little bits of this. And one of the things is to look at what kind of homeschooling you want to do. And so we're going to talk about both extremes, the unschooling extreme, which some people think a certain way about, and then very rigorous schooling. So we're going to start with the rigorous schooling aspect. And Mark doesn't know what any of the topics are till I turn the camera on.
She's like, I want you to sit with me and be window dressing or something, like to just say things. And I'm like, oh, what if you do that and you don't tell me what I'm supposed to talk about, I'm just going to talk about anything.
So rigorous, we're going to start with that, rigorous homeschooling. Some people, when they pull their kids out of school, want to do school at home. Mm-hmm. Some people are choosing to take their children out of school to homeschool them, whatever you want to say, because they feel that they can give their child better academic success by being at home. And so some of those people even set up a classroom within their home with desks. We're going to sit at the desks from 8 to 2. Here's your workbook. You do pages 5 through 7 in your math and 20 through 23 in your English. And that approach can work fine for some students and some families. And we know some people
not do well in this family.
No, but we know some people who have graduated children doing school like that, and it has been a successful approach for their home.
Well, and especially I think when you have, if that is your structure, and then you're going to be going into the university setting or some other very structured setting where there's lectures and syllabus and here's your notes and here's your tests and those sorts of things. If that's what you're going to, there may be some benefit in that. And as a preparation for that.
And also some students really do well with like workbook type. I read my pages, I answer my questions, I retain the information. Some
kids do.
The problem with this approach for some families, again, I'm trying to give you the pros and cons, and for some families this works totally great and don't need to change it at all.
Yep.
For some people, they have students who do not work well by reading the book and filling out the answers at the end. Some kids have trouble with reading comprehension or test taking, that type of thing, and so they are hindered by that. Some kids are hindered because they can't sit still at a desk for that period of time. Depending on the age, it's not actually developmentally appropriate for most kids, especially boys, to be sitting at a desk at 6 years old filling out papers. Are there 6-year-olds who do that? Great. Yes, we have a 6-year-old who reads amazingly well, but if he didn't read at 6, I would not be worried about it. So you have to see what kind of child your child is. Some kids do really well with the I read and answer the question format, but they don't retain the information. And so they can fill out their paper and they can maybe even follow it along enough to do the test at the end of the semester or whatever.
But it hasn't
right, it doesn't actually click and stay with them. So different children might have a problem with that approach. But
and
some families do great.
And this is challenging when we have, how many students do we have currently? 5?
We have 5 students.
5 students, but we have 8 children at home. Just some students may learn a certain way, and you find another child in your family who does not learn well that way. It can be hard to adapt them without having separate standards for like, these are the desk kids and these are the hanging out the window kids. That could be challenging, right?
And when we say students, we're talking about the kids that I am legally obligated to homeschool in the state of Maine by our age range. Yeah. Everyone should be a student. We should continue learning our entire life. So Mark and I are students. We learn different things. We are not students at a school. We are always learning though. But when we talk about students, we're talking about the 5 that I'm required to teach in the state of Maine. So the other aspect of that is unschooling. And I think if you were to use the term unschooling, what most people would think about, again, different people use this term in different ways, but I think what most people would think about, or the like extreme opposite end of what I just explained, is my kid's just gonna learn when they're ready to learn. And we just start the day with no plan. We start the school year with no plan, and the kid's gonna learn something. And you know what? The kid is gonna learn something. Kids are made by God to learn. So kids are gonna learn something. But the thing that I was talking to Mark about a couple days ago, he might not even remember it, is we were talking about how when kids are exposed to different inputs, they can use they have hooks now to hang those things on. That's what we talk about. Is they now have a reason that this makes sense. So in our house, we make a lot of our own meals. We make meals from scratch. So when I tell the kids that bread needs something to rise, then if I forget to put in yeast or baking powder, the kids are going to say, wait, do we need something to let it rise? Because why is this going to rise? And there are different ways. Sometimes you can do eggs in that, and it's a whole cooking thing. But because my kids have been exposed to cooking, they know that. Now, a kid who's never been in a kitchen to make bread is not going to understand that yeast is an essential ingredient for your French bread. So our grandson, our son-in-law.
He just turned 2.
Yeah, he just turned 2. Our son-in-law is a carpenter, and our grandson can pick up so many tools and know what to do with them. He knows with a hammer you bang things. He knows with a screwdriver you turn things. He'll even get
sockets, wrenches, that kind of thing.
The right tool for the right job because he's been exposed to it. So he knows what to do with those. Now, if you handed a socket, I think it's called, to Elisha, he's probably going to use it as a hammer because he knows what a hammer is, and it looks enough like a hammer that I think that's what he tried to do, because I don't think he's ever watched you use a socket. Which is fine.
The socket's the thing on the end, and then the ratchet handle.
The ratchet handle.
Some people call it a wrench. You can call it anything you want to. We're not going to argue.
I'm saying it would look like a hammer.
Yeah,
somebody who doesn't.
It's something hard that you swing at. And it's got a thing hanging out the end. You stuff it. Makes sense.
So kids are going to learn what they're exposed to. So if you are a household that is full of learning all the time, your child could do really well with this unschooling approach because they're going to be exposed to a lot of different things. But a child is never going to learn to read if you are not never, but it's going to have a hard time learning how to read if you don't have books in your house, if you're not reading out loud to them, if they're not seeing you like sound out letters. Like we have letters in different places, so like we have magnets and stuff like that, and it's not unusual to be like, oh look, that's an M, it says that type of thing,
or this is a mommy letter. All sorts of ways we say it.
Writing their name for them, like that type of thing. If you're not putting in an effort to share language with them, they're not going to learn those things. It's like why the doctor asks us at every visit for the babies, do you read to your kids? Because they need to hear vocabulary. That's how they learn, is to be exposed to things. So depending on the family, unschooling could work really, really well if your kids are exposed to a lot of things. Because our children see their big brothers and sisters and parents reading a lot. And so they have this, what are you doing? How does that work? Can you tell me how to spell this word? That type of thing. But if we weren't readers, if we didn't have books all over, I'm like looking at a wall full of books right now, they might not be interested in it. If what they see is always watching something on a screen, even if you're a reader but you're not reading to them, they're not making that idea that these words in this book say something.
I would say the vocabulary thing comes down to, yes, exposure, but also just the consistent pattern of our family. Our family, I don't read a lot of books except for when we're reading the Bible together as a family, which everyone takes their turn reading aloud words in ESV Bible, which is, I think, a 10th grade reading level. So all the children are very familiar with those terms. They're also very familiar with listening to Daddy or drone on about theology. Like, we're people with some education, I guess you could say, in that aspect of that. But also, if all you're ever watching is Blue's Clues, you're going to have a Blue's Clues kind of vocabulary. You're going to say very simple words, and that's fine for younger kids. Like, they do develop it in small steps, bits and pieces, obviously. But yeah, what we read to them. If all we're ever reading is the Dick and Jane, See Spot Run kind of books, then that's what you're going to get. So just exposing them to lots of things. So right now, as a family, we are reading the Bible every single day, which has been our pattern for years. We're reading a book. We're just about finished up with a book called Tide Road. It's written by a local author about a cemetery. It's actually right across the street from us, where it was uncovered recently. It's actually a Civil War era cemetery, an Irish Catholic cemetery, and nobody really knows exactly what happened there, but it got neglected and sold off to a company. And so this mining company owns the land, and then it's a buffer zone right next to the road, so they're not digging up the graves. However, people didn't know who was there or what their history was. You got Civil War heroes who are buried right across the street here that nobody knew about. We're reading that book. That book has a lot of language about, like, it went through the battles, it went through the issues of it being an immigrant coming over on a boat and then coming to, I think it was Boston or Philadelphia, and then eventually making their way up here to Maine. It talked about the culture of a lot of immigrants coming into a small town and how that was affected, their religious beliefs. So we're reading that book as a read aloud. And then when the older kids were actually reading 1984, I think we mentioned that recently. Not a book that I recommend for young people. However, there are a lot of sociological concepts, and we live in an age where Big Brother is actually like a TV show. It's like, yes, we actually put TV cameras everywhere, and we're all okay with it. And just our technological society, I have a camera sitting here and my child's right there. Like, how do we interact with these things? How do we think about them? But to say that all of that terminology, the way we talk as a family, will dictate a lot of how our children learn language and how they use it and what they're curious about.
Right. And so unschooling can work really well for some families. And I think unschooling has got a really bad rap over the years. A lot of times an unschooling family is a family that has a lot of exposure to different things. And if the parent is very diligent to make sure they get resources for their child, depending on their child's interests, then unschooling can work really well.
Totally.
So if you have a child who's super interested in sharks and you're willing to go find the books at the library about shark anatomy and you're willing to search out the videos about sharks and all of that stuff, your child can learn an immense amount about something that they're really interested in.
That's
in the
a
world
local
around
thing
them.
too. Like, we live on the coast of Maine. There are great white sharks off the coast right here, like within our county. Yeah. There was a mako shark. A friend of ours took a video of a mako shark taking on a porpoise last week. And then we saw them at the parade, and I was like, "Oh yeah, we liked your video." Like, interacting with the culture of people around you and the things that happen around you. We live near the ocean, so we talk about lobster boats and lobster fishing and all sorts of things that may not be where you're from, and you may not be exposed to that. You might know a billion things about tornadoes or ranch life or all sorts of things that we don't know that much about.
Right.
But we do try to expose our kids to a lot of different things to see what are their interests, what are their skills, what is God preparing them for in the future and steering them towards that.
So unschooling can work really well, but you need to make sure that you are exposing your children specifically to basic, this is my thought, not
Reading,
how all
writing,
unschooling,
arithmetic.
but basic reading, basic writing, basic math, so that they have a concept of this is something I can learn more about in the world. Just like you need to expose your kids to a lot of things. So unschooling, some people who are not diligent about wanting to homeschool might just say they're unschooling and not actually doing anything. But people who actually want to homeschool, who are doing unschooling, might just look different than the average school. So, it will look different than the average school, but it doesn't mean that it's going to fail. So, that's the big range. Now, where do we fall? We fall in the middle somewhere.
Squarely in the middle.
So
we like to be in the middle.
Actually have a reading curriculum that I do with the kids. It's kindergarten through second grade. However, I'm not unschooling in that.
Right.
But I also am not the rigorous academic because I'm not saying, okay, this is kindergarten week 1, here's the lesson. We kind of tried the lesson. So Gideon is 4 right now.
Yep.
We have tried the first 2 or 3 lessons 4 or 5 times because he seemed interested. And I was like, hey, let's sit down. And it wasn't clicking with him. So we put the book away. And we'll try it again later. If it doesn't click with him till he's 6 or 7, I'm not worried about it because we're still reading a lot. We're playing games with letters. We're talking about how letters work together, but not sitting down.
He's seeing words on paper.
He's hearing all of it. So
he
we're
looks
just
at
not
books all the time.
We're just not sitting down doing the phonics lesson because he's not ready for it.
Right.
Does that make sense? So we fall between the two. We have a phonics lesson, but I'm not stringent on, no, today says we do pages 21 and 22 and you're going to do them.
And I would say even with our, some might call it a more relaxed approach, most of our kids by 6 or 7 are reading at or above 3rd grade level.
Yeah.
Something like that. All of our kids love to read. They all love books. They all love to learn. So
if
whatever,
you don't know that, look
what
at the
we're doing,
video we saw last night about the books that were given to us. And even Elisha's like, book for me.
And so we know that what we're doing with our family may not be the exact way other people are. We're not saying, here's a prescription, do what we do.
Right.
But these have worked for us, so it's not a failed approach. Like there may be some people that say, well, I tried this and I failed at it. It didn't work for our kid. We've not had a lot of that. We've had a lot of, like you say, introduction to something. This isn't sticking right now. We'll address it again later, or maybe we'll address it in a different way.
Right. And we have... the reading program we've used has worked for all of the kids, some just a little older than the others. But as a homeschooler, you also have to be willing to say, you know what? Like we have a bunch of kids. So I could say Alphaphonics, which we have been using, has worked for the first 8 kids. Yeah, because we have 2 that don't read. The first 8 kids. You know what? If number 9, we keep trying, and he's 6, 7, 8, and it's not clicking,
Maybe
we can try something different.
Yeah.
But for right now, it's just... developmentally, he's not needed to read yet.
Right.
It's not a developmental skill that he's supposed to have yet.
But we know it's a very good program.
Right.
Yeah, like it's a time-proven program. It's been around a while.
It's been around a while.
I think that's part of it with me too, as someone who homeschooled when it was illegal to be homeschooled for a couple of years in the 80s. At least it was in the state of Maine, to actually homeschool. We were part of I think it was like class, Christian Liberty Academy satellite school. So we were officially under another school, but it was just my mom and the 2 of us boys that were at home at the time doing our work almost entirely unmonitored. Like we were both good students already. We were motivated and all of that kind of thing. But nowadays, homeschool is really popular and it's become big business. So now everybody's selling curriculum. Everybody has a new program. We went to Teach Them Diligently a couple years ago. I can't tell you how many times I've asked, does your child have a hard time learning to read? No, they don't. But I got to be a dozen or more curriculum in that one vendor hall of people wanting, like, you need to buy this program that I invented 3 weeks ago, or maybe 5 years ago or something. I tend to stick with like the time and true, tested, old things. Yeah. And Alphaphonics has been around a very long time. Phonics has been around a very long time. It's worked very well.
So we're not telling you this is exactly what needs to happen. We just wanted to share kind of the far ends of the spectrum, and that those can work great for families. One size does not fit all in homeschooling because you have to take, and I'll make another video about this, but you have to take into account your teaching style and your children's learning styles. And that might put you anywhere on the spectrum. So just so people know, if they have questions for us, we are very much kind of middle ground here. There are things we use curriculum for. There are things we don't use curriculum for. We do not sit down and say, here's your workbook. You have 180 days to finish it, 1 lesson a day. That is not the type of people we are. We teach 180 days a year. That's what's required for our state. But we will give the kid a book, and they may do 5 lessons today. And then they might not do lessons for the next 2 days because we're busy doing stuff. And then they might do more lessons. So it's one of those that, like, over the course of a year or whatever, they'll finish a book. Maybe they'll finish it in 6 months. We don't do it according to school starts September 1st. It ends May 30th. Make sure you fill in all those days. if I give them a book September 1st and they're super excited about it and they want to finish it by the end of October, that's great. Like, and we do a lot less, here's your curriculum book, read the book, fill out the answers, than we do, let's read this book together, or read the book and come tell me what you learned about it. Let's do an activity with it type stuff.
I think the most structured thing we probably have is something that was self-imposed. Like Samuel this year has decided that he would like to pursue emergency dispatch positions. So like a regional communications person that takes in 911 calls and routes different people through whatever is needed, go through scripts, helping people using the phone, so because he has some physical limitations. That's something he's pursuing, something he likes to do. So a friend of ours from church actually put together a program saying, what is it, 5 days a week? He's supposed to do an hour, and 1 day a week it's like 2 hours or something. But it includes all of the things that you would need, the practical skills.
Like 15 minutes of typing, learning geography skills, these different things.
Right.
This guy who was helping us is super, super sweet. They homeschooled their own children, and he wanted to help Samuel because he realized, we did not ask him to do this, but Samuel had been talking to him about it, and Samuel cannot apply for one of these jobs until he's 18.
Right.
He is 16 and a half.
Yeah.
And so he has time to work on something. So this gentleman very sweetly broke it down that if you work on it this way, here's a year-long curriculum to do.
And in the end, you'll have thousands of hours of experience, or hundreds of hours of experience, whatever it is. But you should have proficiency in all of the major skill sets, and then you can actually apply specific things. Yeah. But the thing is about Samuel, he's diligent about doing that as a daily routine. And the other kids run around and they put on headsets and they sit there and type next to him, or they listen to the calls and they know the fire tones for the different towns around and all that kind of thing. Because what he's doing and enjoying it, he's then sharing with them. So there's a lot of teaching that goes on that way as well. That's just by proxy. Like, this is happening in our home, so we talk about it. Same about music. Naomi plays guitar. She plays multiple instruments. We all sing a cappella, so we read out of hymnals so we know what notes look like. And we learn to read older language because a lot of hymns are written in older language. And so now the kids sometimes walk around talking in King James English because that's what they enjoy doing, because we do music as a family. There's so many opportunities and ways in which this manifests itself. But mostly the love of learning. If somebody's enjoying what they're doing.
Staying out here.
Okay. I have been informed from the other room that we have to cut off this video because we've got something else going on. So we will see you next time on Hurting Little Cows to the Glory of God.